want to acquire something that I do not have, the sense of incompleteness sets in your mind. Say, I am the way I am not happy. And that's when the whole chain reaction starts. So yoga starts with the contention that I am not complete.
Purnamada.
Purnamada Purnamidam. Purnat Purnamudashyate. So our true nature was the consciousness. Consciousness never told you that go and acquire things. It's all mine. Krishna says, it's me. It's all mine. It's nothing yours. Don't think it's yours. So if we were born like that, the child doesn't care that he has to make X amount of dollars or he has to do certain things in life, this and that and all that. So he's not distressed by any of the objectives. So he's expressing his true nature. And the true nature is to enjoy. And he does. But we do not do that. So the true nature was, if we really have in our head that you are complete, and consciousness, you are part of me, and you are complete, and you just enjoy the life, then nothing would have happened. But the moment you realize that, oh, this guy has Mercedes and I don't, and that's when yoga part starts. Now, that's not so bad as it is, that okay, it's in another westernized form, or you have to go get her, you have to achieve, you have to be successful to do that, the best in you will come out. Nothing wrong with to some extent. Those arguments are fancy words to put down in your head. On the contrary, if 100 people are trying to climb to the fort, only one guy is going to make it, but the other 99 are going to be losing out. So,
but isn't that the effort that counts? Like how?
It should. It should. But the thing is that we are so result oriented, because you become goal oriented so much, the efforts and the process of acquiring or reaching to that goal itself has no value, because everything is judged by the results. If you did not get a full 100% in the exam, then you are not a good student, because somebody did and you didn't.
Who remembers the finals? Who remembers which team lost? Nobody remembers. You only remember who won.
Who won?
Yeah, but when I don't. But if you follow like in true path, what I'm understanding what you're saying is that what you have to do is you have to put in your efforts, do it 100%, and forget it. Then whatever
Exactly.
you get.
Exactly.
And
But
you have to just do that with everybody around
efforts
you.
you have to.
With your kids.
On the contrary, when you are not goal oriented, you will be enjoying what you're doing so good that your results will come out of it more than probably what would have thought about.
And you wouldn't care anyway.
Yeah.
You wouldn't care anyway
Exactly,
for the
yeah.
result.
You probably won't, but that's not the point. But it might even happen. The results might happen so good that you even beyond what you had expected. So yoga is, as I said, is half of the journey. And then after doing all these things, that you achieved something, and then the kshema starts. Now you have to hold on to what you have achieved. If you never had any money, that's another story. But now you have $10,000. Now you have a big problem. Once the inflation shouldn't take it away, then the IRS shouldn't take it away, somebody should not steal it away, all these things, and then before you know, the life is comes to an end. Where is the pleasure? So, good morning. So the cycle of yoga kshema is selected by your manda buddhi. So the wise people will select good over the pleasant. But that's only when you're talking about the form. And when you go beyond the form and go into the consciousness level, then all these things will disappear. So, what Rajneesh was saying, I was listening, it was very beautiful. He says, okay, the religion says, don't deal yourself, don't get involved into all these pleasurable things and give up this and give up that and all that. But then, at the same time, what do you want to do? Say, well, I want to achieve samadhi, or I want to reach the highest levels, and I want to go to heaven, and I have heard in heavens there are, sharab ki nadiyan बढ़ रही hai, and there are apsaras hai, and this and that. He says, then, what is the difference? There is no difference. He says, somebody who is a sansari, his goal is low, but then your goal is even higher, so you are worse attached, yoga kshema cycle, than somebody who has a sansari. The sansari, why do you want to go to heaven? To be happy. But that's what sansari wants to. Sansari also wants to be happy, but he's using a different means. And you putting a different means, but the result, your end goal is still the same. So what is the difference? So that's why they say, in the beginning, You select one over the other without any expectations, and then little by little you start sinking. But then ultimately, no desires. To have a desire itself is going against the flow of the consciousness. So he puts it in a very beautiful way. He said there is a shrub there. So Sansari he wants more and more leaves on the bush, because then he feels that he's more richer, right? The Tyagi wants to get rid of all the leaves, because leaves are so bad. All these acquisitions are so bad. I want no more any trees. That he keeps on working so hard. But sannyasi will cut off the roots. He says the attachment is not there at all. He says when you're trying to give up something, you still have that contention in your mind that
I gave up.
I gave up. It's still in your head. There was nothing to give up, because it was never yours to begin with. He says, so Rajni says, ये तो ऐसा बात हो गई कि सुबह में I gave up the sun. I don't want the sun anymore. It was never yours. People will laugh at you. The same way, if the belief gets into your head that this was never yours to begin with, what difference does it make whether you gave up or you didn't give up? It doesn't really matter. So it's that deep concept has to be digested to such a level, and then the consciousness flows through you. So he was giving an example of a Jain Muni who was born Brahmin, and he converted into Jainism, and he gave up, and he took a diksha, and then he lived for like 12-15 years, and then he heard the news that his wife died. So the first thing he says, chalo janjat chuti. So people were so impressed. In Jainism circles he was very popular because he was a Brahmin who converted and saw our religion is so much better, me and mine, and all these things were making people in his circles. And when he heard the wife's news and not a tear in his eyes and such a great soul and this and that. So Rajni says, wait a minute. So the guy wrote a biography on that Muni, and then he was presented to Rajni. Rajni says, wait a minute, come here. Janjat Chuti? He says, Janjat, uska matlab kya hai? So what do you mean Janjat Chuti? That means for all these 15 years the Janjat was still there in your head, and you were wishing that the wife dies, then the Janjat will go away. So if you really renunciate with the thought that nothing is mine, that wife was never mine to begin with. So whether she is dead or not, what difference does it make? So your state of equilibrium should not get affected whether she's alive or she's dead. So that's the concept that we have to grasp by all this discussion. So ownership is a concept that is created at the mind level. For all these things we need the mind. And when we transcend the mind, then the whole idea of life starts changing. So whatever comes in front of us, so there is a play that's going on. Every single character or every single image or every situation that comes in front of us is created by the consciousness. In that particular moment, using the molecules or whatever the atoms and molecules available is created right in front of us, right? But 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, again the whole thing changes. The molecules which were creating this is creating something else. Molecules don't change, energy doesn't change. But how do you not get attached? The only time when you see a form, at the form level, things keep on changing. And when you live the life of a form, attachment starts. I like this, I don't like this. It's like a kaleidoscope. It's continuously rotating. And you like certain image and you don't like certain image, but not realizing there's something higher at work. So the question is, how do you not get attached to the day-to-day things? It's natural. That's what, after all, we were born, and the senses were designed to enjoy this life. And how do you not get attached to one thing and not the other? The only time you not get attached, when you start seeing consciousness in each and every second, in each and every single person, and each and every single event. Because that's the only steady thing. If you really think every form is a creation of consciousness, and if there is it's going at a dizzying speed, right? Continuous change is going on. What is your moh and maya? What is moh and maya? Me and mine. Is whatever mind sees, mind has a tendency to stick to the form. Chicken or the egg. And that's when it gets into the debate. But now, the form, by its own default nature, keeps on changing. Because it has to. That is the power of consciousness. The change is consciousness. The change is God. The continuously that is changing. You see the wind that's blowing the trees, the flowers that are blooming in the morning and they're wilted by the end of the day. That's change. That is the direct proof of the consciousness. That shows the power of consciousness. Not the stone. The stone will be sitting there for millions of years if it's untouched. And yet we call that God. So instead of putting your focus on the stone, Rajneesh says, put your faith into the rose that was blooming in the morning and is wilting in the evening. Who did that? He says, once you start getting this concept that every part of the nature comes alive. He says that you get involved into the consciousness so much, you become part of the nature. And you are part of that nature, right? So everything that is changing so rapidly and so beautifully, only to create something else. Even your life. Why are you trying to go against the flow of the nature? Why do you have to get a chance? Just because you're getting old doesn't mean that that's the end. Don't try to fight. You're getting old is also okay. And dying is also okay. Because just the way the life is not going to last forever, the death is not going to last forever either. You're going to have another life. So it's a continuous cycle that you are in. Only when you try to fight it, that's when the problem comes in. Then you're going against the current of the nature. So whatever is in front, right, you get attached to it. And when you get attached to it, the mind wants to hold on to it. So attachment, addiction, those are all the creations of our mind. And the society does not help at all. All this mass media and all these new inventions coming out is drawing more and more attention into material world for us. But that's when the peace goes away. But if you start seeing a steady factor and just think, okay, this came in front of me is consciousness. It changed. This came in front of me is consciousness. So when you continuously think of consciousness and Chaitanya, look at how much energy and the vibrant situations are in front of us. There's a continuous change. That change itself makes you think of the consciousness. That's much the power of consciousness. Chaitanya that is in the consciousness. And that's the ability of the consciousness to create the Sat part of the consciousness. And the Chit is for us to appreciate that and the Anand. Once you sync yourself from your consciousness level to whatever is outside in the front of you, whatever you see, in the beginning you do that at your meditation level. Okay, you go deep inside and you explore the consciousness that does exist. First, if you want to see consciousness outside, how can you see consciousness unless somebody gives you a proof? How do you know?
I don't understand.
Well, see, whatever is in front of you, any object that comes in front of you, by even scientific method we decide that this is the energy equal to mc square. What is energy? Energy is consciousness. So you want to see and you want to believe that this is the consciousness. You bypass the form, whether the guy is black or white or short or tall, whether he's smart or stupid. You want to see consciousness.
By that particular object?
Object, person, situation, anything that is in any material thing that is in front of you, right? It could be in a distorted form. Somebody may be acting in but right behind them still there is a consciousness, right? So you want to see through the form and perceive the consciousness that is and you believe that this is the consciousness in front of you.
But based on your own vrittis or your own whatever, the consciousness could be good or bad. Because
No? Consciousness is the ultimate truth behind. There is no good or bad in consciousness.
Because when you speak about Rajneesh, and for a common man, he had allowed free sex, drugs, everything.
Agreed.
And I mean, what kind of a consciousness was there? When, because we, like it or not, we live in a society and not everybody is as good as Krishna or Arjun.
Right.
So that's why I think we form some rules
Agreed.
and some social morals and say, okay, you know what? You can't be Krishna, you can't be Arjun, you got to follow this morality. And this is moral and this is not moral.
Agreed.
Rajneesh went totally other way.
Okay, Rajneesh as a human being, I have no care for it, or whatever he did what I care about his teachings, and apply it in the best possible way What
And
our
that's
consciousness
why
will
my
dictate.
question was whether
Yes.
the consciousness is good or bad, because I thought that when he looked
Consciousness
at
can
it,
never be good.
Okay.
See, this knowledge has transcended over millions of years. It's even Vedas that we say 5,000, 8,000. This is not 5,000, 8,000. They've been written for millions of years. This is our communication with the God, the consciousness. Put it in a written form, it came up, but in a spoken and verbal forms, and it existed for millions of years. So that's like unshakable truth. Now, if I use that truth and put it in my own perspective and the way I want to use it based on my vrittis, that does not make the knowledge tainted. It's my personality, and what I do gets tainted. So no, I agree. Whatever he did may not be right. That's not our discussion, though.
Then how do you see consciousness in the, like you were asking
Consciousness
us?
is in a pure form. That's what I'm trying to say. That if you want to start seeing consciousness in the real life, in a real world, out sansar, you have to experience it within yourself first, right? When you say, when me and mine disappears, the consciousness starts. That's when your concept